Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Chorus Girl Quilting, and it's what I'm working on Wednesday. It seems like ages since last Wednesday. And as you can see, the power is back on and we have plenty of good light. I have the little Bernina fired up and I've been working on the Something Fishy blocks. I am about to finish block number 10. This is the musky. I don't know what a muskie is. It's some kind of fish. Muskie. I'm about to finish him. I've kind of been keeping track of how long these last few blocks are taking. And it is depending on the block. This one may not take as long, but a couple of them have taken well over 2 hours each. So it's a time consuming project, but it is fun and I'm enjoying the brain work. Um, so we're continuing to work on that. This is, did I say it's the 10th? This is the 10th block that I'm working on. So I think next week I'm going to be able to start assembling the quilt, which will be way easier than this, and it won't take quite as long. We've tabled the Jeep quilt for a while until my big Janome gets back from her spa month. Because I don't want to have to recalibrate my seam allowance. Everything is going well and turning out nice and evenly, so I'm not going to try to recalibrate that on this machine or my little my Love Shack Janome. We'll just take a rest from that. So we got back from Paducah, and I'm going to talk about a couple of projects that I bought fabric for, and we're going to discuss my honest perception or my honest perception of Hancock's of Paducah. That's a big fabric store there. If you've been to Paducah and you went to Hancock's, I'd love to hear what you thought about it, and so leave me a comment in the comment section. So my surprise, I wasn't surprised because I've looked up on the website for fabrics there, and the prices are basically, they're the same as any other quilt shop that you go to. It's not a discount shop. So I knew going in that was going to be the case. And so I have 3 projects that I was specifically going to find fabric for. And one of them was the Jolly Bar jumbo quilt pattern that I talked about last week. And I took my little fat eighth bundle with me. And by the way, if you are not familiar with pre-cuts, a fat eighth is a piece of fabric that is 9 inches long by by about 20 inches wide, 21 inches wide. It's an eighth of a yard of fabric, but you get more length and less width. A fat quarter is an 18 by 21 inch piece of fabric. So if that gives you any idea, these 2 are my favorite kind of pre-cuts because I can get a lot of pieces out of them and they don't ravel like the jelly rolls or the 10-inch squares that we're going to talk about in a minute. But anyway, to go with the Jolly Bar jumble, and I heard a neat term about this, about a quilt. I was watching Tula Pink, and more on that later, do her Tuesday with Tula video, and oh no, I take that back. I was watching a different video today, and someone was showing off a quilt that they'd done, and they were calling it a palette cleanser. And I thought that was a neat term because this is a very simple, straightforward pattern, but I am thinking it's going to be really pretty with these fabrics, and I'll be able to show off the prints really well. But a palette cleanser from doing all of this hard brain work, like the paper piecing or the Jeep quilt, where you're really having to think and keep things lined up and your point straight and making sure your fabric's going to fit on there and all of that. So palette cleanser, no less. It's not a less than quilt. It's just simpler and more straightforward. So anyway, so these are all the fabrics that are going to go into the blocks. And a block is 1 4.5-inch square and then a little 4 patch. And you can see it better on this. This would be like a baby quilt size, the picture they're showing. There's a print square, your background, and then a little 4 patch of 2 other prints. They don't have to match up, and you can mix and match and make it scrappy, or you could put the same 2 fabrics in 1 4 patch and put it with the main print, the bigger square. Up to you. Whatever floats your boat. So, and I did link the pattern. I did put the pattern link in last week's What I'm Working on Wednesday. If you want to go and find that, it's a free pattern on the Fat Quarter Shop. So the fabrics I chose to go with these 2 were, and I showed you this one last week, but this little cottage print I think is adorable and very appropriate for the gift that I'm giving to my friend. But that's going to be the backing, and this cute print will be the binding, and this print is going to be what I will call the background fabric. I wanted something that would allow me to use all of these whites here, because a white background or a cream background, I was going to lose all of these prints. And then I thought about going blue, and then I would have lost a lot of these prints. They would have just faded into the background. So I went with this color right here. And so this little fat eighth is the only one that I won't be able to use. I think there's enough contrast, even with this gingham check, I think that's still going to show up. So your background doesn't always have to be cream or white. And most quilters know that. Sometimes it's hard for us to step out of that box, but I have started doing that more lately because I just like to experiment and see what it does to the rest of the fabrics. So there's the Jolly Bar Jumble Quilt. And put that there. And so I decided to start 2 other projects. They came up kind of by surprise. Nobody told me I had to do it. I've not been asked to do them, but I thought it would be fun, and we were really excited when we heard this news. But my mom is still undergoing chemotherapy, and we were at our appointment last week, and her oncologist was telling us that, he was going to be gone for a while, and we're like, oh, what are you doing? Where are you going? And my mom was like, but you're not leaving, right? And he said no, because she's had 2 doctors from her whole experience. They've left to go on to different career paths at other hospitals and stuff. And so we were like, oh no, not again. But he was just leaving to go on paternity leave. So so I thought, you know what? We're going to make him a quilt, or I'm going to make him a quilt. My mom's going to look at it and say she likes it. That's what's going to happen. And then one of the nurse practitioners that works with him is on maternity leave, and she had a little boy. And so I decided, you know what? I'm going to make them both a quilt because we love them. They are awesome healthcare providers, and they've been so encouraging and so easy to talk to and get information from. We're really, we just really like them a lot. So for her oncologist, I'm going to make this little cow quilt by Art East Quilting Company. It's called Cattle Call, a Highland Coo. They also have another one that has little cows on it, little Highland cows on it, and some of them you can make them have a little tam on their head, the little Scottish cap. It's pretty cute too, but I've made several of these, and although the cutting takes some time, once you start assembling this, it goes pretty fast, and it's so cute, and you can do so many variations with it. I've done Um, I've done cream backgrounds and I've done blue background. And I've done this star pattern up here in multicolor. But this time I'm going to use, and I have several, and I've made them from flannel and I've made them from regular quilting cotton. Um, this time I'm going to, I have fat quarters in flannels in my stash from when I've done the other cows. So what I really need to get is, well, I needed to get was background, and I want to get some backing. And I think I'm going to use the Minky, the Cuddle Minky in a, there's a Highland cow print that I've used before, that has some purples and pinks in the background. And the cows have flowers around them and stuff. And I may try to add some flowers on top of her head if I can figure out how to do it. But this right here, this print right here, is going to be the background for the pattern, and the cow will be in this background. I probably will do just a single color star pattern here just because this is kind of busy. We'll see when I'm making it how that works. But that's this so far, and that's this pattern right here. And so for the nurse practitioner's little boy, I've had this pattern and this layer cake for forever. This was probably a contender for one of the baby quilts in our family. We've had, in the last 4 years, we've had 5 new babies. My nephews have had 5 babies amongst the 4 of them. And so this was a contender for one of those babies, and I chose another pattern. But this is called Woolly Lambs by Coach House Designs. And I already had this layer cake. And a layer cake, by the way, if you don't know, is a package of 10-inch squares. And there's usually 40 to 42 in a pack. And there are, you usually will get every fabric that's in the fabric collection. This one is called Farmhouse Flannels 3 by Primitive Gatherings. And so we'll just do the sheep and the fences are in this fabric and using these. And I decided, I'm not going to do a cream background because look what happens to this little guy right here. He just disappears in that. So I decided I was going to do a blue background. I know, cliche, lavender for the girl and blue for the boy, but the way when I've used a blue background for this cow, it really makes the colors of the cow jump off the background, and then it sets them off really well. So this is kind of a wide weave flannel, but it's a grayish blue, and we stood forever and tried to compare and see, what do we think? Do we think these are going to go? And I think they'll be great. I think they'll be really muted and look like a flannel shirt kind of, and possibly going to use what am I thinking? Cuddle on the back of this one, but maybe I may not. I may try to find a flannel that coordinates with all of those to go on the back. So that was kind of my Hancock's haul. And so here are my thoughts. I didn't really know what to expect when I went in. Except that it wasn't an outlet or discount kind of overstock store. Um, the handyman was with me, bless his heart. He walked through the whole thing and he was helping me find stuff because I didn't think I was going to find these 3 fabrics. I was really worried that they didn't have that, even though it showed on the website. But when you go into your quilt shop, a lot of times the fabric is organized by collection and all the coordinating fabrics are there together, or sometimes they're organized by colors, which is also great. And one of the shops I like to go to down in Arkansas, the Rag Barn, they organize their fabrics by color, except for all the wide. They keep all the wide backs together, and they're kind of organized in colors, color groups. But at Hancock's, the store is organized by brand name, like Andover, Bernatex, Moda, Riley Blake, Robert Kaufman, Timeless Treasures, Quilting Treasures, all of those names. That's how the fabric is organized. So you have to know who makes your fabric. If you're looking for something specific, you have to know who makes it so you know where to go in the store. They did have some upholsteries, but we didn't go into that section of the shop. We didn't see any pre-cuts or anything like that, which was fine. I wasn't after pre-cuts. They did have a large selection of wide back 108 fabric. And they had some sewing notions, but not a lot. So we were walking through the store and handyman goes, "Oh my gosh, there's people walking through the store with baskets full of fabric." And what we realized at some point was those were employees filling online orders. So our conclusion is, and those of you who have been there know more about the store, you can let me know in the comments, was that this is mainly a business that does a lot of online business, and you just kind of go into the warehouse or the fulfillment center and buy fabric as well. So all in all, it wasn't a bad trip, but it was just not what we expected. So those were our thoughts about Hancock's. We are going to do we're going to try and put together a video of the kind of the whole trip to Paducah. We wanted to shoot more video, but it was so stinking hot that weekend. It was hot up here. It was hot everywhere. I think in the Midwest, it was just hot, hot, hot. We had temps over 100 degrees both those days we were there. And so we basically, if we went somewhere to do some kind of photo op, we went there and we took the photos and we left. So we're going to try to put something together of the photos. The most mild weather-wise part of the trip was when we went to Garden of the Gods State Park it's just north of Paducah in southern Illinois. So that was fantastic. It was spectacular. So the Quilt Museum was fantastic, and we have pictures from there. I have to say, again, if you've been to the National Quilt Museum, what did you think? Leave me a comment. I walked in and I was just, when you walk in, they've got these quilts along these two walls, and we were looking straight at the area where they had the Tula Pink exhibit, and I was just like verklempt, because the first 8 quilts you could see were unbelievable artistry. It was just amazing to be able to go and look at these quilts up close and read about them and what the maker did and why they did it. And the Janet Stone exhibit was beautiful, and Tula Pink's was beautiful and completely different in style and process, but it was very cool. And so we'll have pictures of that. You could go in, you just go in and you want to start taking pictures, and then you realize I can't take pictures of every quilt in this place because I'll fill up the camera roll on my camera. So I started getting more selective about what I was taking pictures of, but we got some good pictures of Tula's quilts and good pictures of Janet's quilts, and they were awesome. And that's why we went to go see it. So that's what I'm working on Wednesday. We're still on our way to 200 subscribers. That's kind of cool. And so thank you for watching, and thank you for your comments. They're very kind, and it's kind of nice to see, what some of you, that some of you have the same struggles that I do, and have some good suggestions. So keep liking, subscribing, leave me comments, comment on whether you've been to Hancock's before or the museum before, and what you thought of that, and would you go back. And so we will see you on Sunday for Show and Tell Sunday, and I think that's it. So bye from Chorus Girl Quilting.